Good day, everyone, and welcome to Ana-La-Rai's Sparkles of Love. Today, episode 41. And my name is Ana-La-Rai, and here at Sparkles of Love, our purpose is to provide you with the newest, most advanced tools, information, and energies to accelerate your awakening. And we're here to help you get unstuck, get out of the struggle, and sparkle. And today we're going to talk about triggers and negative emotions around triggers. And I know it's something that a lot of people, we all struggle with because we're all triggered at one point or another. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what a trigger is and what you do with it, how to release it, and what they mean. And at the end, I'll do a little download of energy of the vibrations of peace. And of course, I'm always happy to answer your questions. So if you want to write them in the chat box, and please, I'd love it if you would hit the like button and the little bell to subscribe. And don't forget, I have lots of other videos, of short videos of about 2 minutes, but the Thursday lives are always a little longer. So, all right. So, triggers. Have you been triggered lately? I know I get triggered. I think we all get triggered, and the more we move into different levels of mastery, the more we recognize our triggers and let them go a lot easier. But when you start your journey, well, even if you don't start your journey, we're triggered and it's an we don't always know what it means or what it's for. So what is a trigger? So let's start there. A trigger is when you have a strong emotional response, usually negative, to a person, a situation. It might be a memory, it might be an event, it might even be a smell, right? So something causes this negative emotional reaction within you. And it can also be a physical reaction. Sometimes you might feel nausea or your heart might start to race. Other times it might just be irritation, like you want to, that kind of irritation. And it might trigger anger, sadness, fear, anxiety, shock, worry, all of those things, just or even just a really strong irritation. Ugh, I'm just, you know, I'm triggered. So, and again, it can give you physical responses as well. So, what are some examples in real life about triggers? If any of you know any, just write them in or things you've been triggered by, go ahead because they're different for everybody. What triggers me might not trigger you at all. And what triggers my next door neighbor might not trigger you, right? It's different and our triggers can change. So, I'm going to give you some examples that I have seen. And that doesn't mean none of these might trigger you. All of them might. There's no rights or wrongs when it comes to triggers because they're so individualized. So, one I saw recently for someone was they felt anxious and worried and upset when they had to call and make a doctor's or dentist appointment. So, the fear was coming up in them. So, I would say they're triggered. Um, the big one for lots of us is with your spouse or your significant other, and they say or do something that just irritates you. Or maybe you go in and they didn't make the bed, or maybe they said they'd do the laundry and it didn't get done, or maybe they put all the dishes away in the wrong place, and you just go, "Ah, do I have to say this again?" Right? That kind of thing. And no, Christian, this is not aimed at you. um, car cuts you off. You're driving down the highway and car cuts you off and you start screaming or cursing at them. You're triggered. You're upset. Um, Here at our house, sometimes the dogs barking too much or barking at silly things can be a real trigger, especially when you're trying to do something quiet. And another one for people can be looking at their finances or even checking their bank account, and it can make their stomach go, "Ooh," all these, anxiety or fear or drop, that awful feeling. Um, Other people, it might be hearing lies or seeing someone manipulated could trigger them. So, does anybody else have any other suggestions on examples of what triggers are? It could be something as silly as you go into your fridge in your kitchen and you want some ice cream and you lift up the ice cream box or container and you open it up and somebody put it back empty. That could be something that triggers you because now you're upset. Maybe it was the milk in the fridge or the beer, but it can be anything. You can be triggered by so many different things. We can be triggered by the news, by something on TV. Okay. So triggers are different. So Paula says she went shopping, seeing how ridiculously high priced everything else can cause a trigger. Yeah. Especially if finances are an issue for you, or maybe you don't have enough money to spend it on fresh, and now it just feels wrong and you feel triggered by it. That negative, strong emotional reaction. Again, might even become physical. So triggers, and you could spend hours just listing triggers because they're different for all of us. But if you think back in your life, I'm sure you've all had times when you were triggered. And I think most of us still pretty much get triggered almost daily, right? When you're moving into the higher frequencies and more self mastery and self awareness, it might be maybe a few times a week instead of daily. But it is a challenge because this is what life in human form is all about, all the contradictions. So, if you recognize these triggers, what does it mean? Okay, why are they happening? What it means? Well, after you do your and maybe dance around your kitchen a little bit or swear a little bit, um, I see them once I get past that initial stage as a gift because what it shows me is where I am still not healed, where I still have either an energetic blockage or a wound or an unhealed trauma. Okay. So it's showing me my body and my emotions are showing me where I am not healed. Okay. So, for example, let me think of another one. Let's say you were baking cookies in your house or brownies or some kind of baking and you burnt stuff. Some people just might be triggered up the yin yang by the smell, the waste of money, the waste of time. And other people, it's just, okay, so I just do it over. No trigger at all. So any of the ones I listed, like the dogs barking, maybe to you, that's just this wonderful sound and it doesn't trigger you. So everybody's triggers are different, right? So what it means when you're triggered is that you have an energy block, an emotional wound, a trauma, something that is still unhealed within you. And it could be from this lifetime, it could be from past lifetimes. You don't know. And it doesn't really matter because it's still present, because you are still reacting in a negative manner to whatever this stimulus was. Okay. So now that you can recognize them, you can see them, and it's easy to see them in others, but you feel them in your body. Okay. Now, maybe you were taught growing up that you don't react to things. That if you're upset, you don't say anything, you don't yell, you keep it all in. That doesn't mean that you're not triggered. It just means you're not showing it. Okay? Because you can always feel that that irritation within your physical body. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So I see them as a gift after I get through my initial because what they do is they show me a place that I still haven't healed, a place that I still have a wound. And for me on my journey, I don't want to be as triggered as much. I want to try and heal as much of my past as I can so that my life moves more into the flow, so that I feel happier, easier, so that my emotions aren't like this, right? Because when you're triggered, your vibration goes way down. Because often you go into anger, irritation, anxiety, fear. Okay, it just drops you right down. Okay. And very often they're unexpected, right? You open the freezer, you didn't expect the ice cream container to be empty. You didn't expect the guy in front of you to cut you off, right? You didn't expect to see almost no money in your bank account when you put a big check in yesterday, right? So they're usually unexpected because if you know that it's coming, you're probably not going to be triggered, right? You're going to be prepared. So what do you do? What do you do when you're triggered? How do you fix this? Well, the first thing is you want to be self aware. You want to observe and go, okay, I'm triggered. Acknowledge that you're triggered. And sometimes you just want to let yourself feel all those emotions. And it might be for a couple of minutes, it might be for a couple of hours, it might even be for a few days. Maybe you're just pissed off about this. Right? Maybe it's just something I got to that I'm just, and I need to sort it out. So there's no length of time on triggers. It's very, very individual, and other things might be gone in a split second. Okay. So you want to be self aware and observe it as much as you can. And when you can, if you can, laugh at it, great. But what it's going to show you is you want to do some healing or clearing work around it. And whether you use Reiki or healing touch or special words or work with crystals or whatever tools and processes you have for healing or clearing, you want to clear it. You want to release it. And you'll know that your healing or clearing has worked the next time the same kind of thing happens and you don't respond. You don't have that negative reaction. You still see it. Oh, the dogs are barking. Hmm, I'm not happy about it, but I don't feel this irritation inside me, right? Um, and Paula says, upon reflection of what triggered me, I almost always take it as a blessing. Somewhere I can look at and move through. Yeah, but it takes a while for us often to take it as a blessing. When I was first introduced to that concept a long time ago, I thought, oh, they're crazy. Trigger's not a gift. And I now really do see them as gifts after I get through my initial grouchy part. Okay. So a trigger lets you know what you still have to heal, that you have a wound somewhere, that something is still there that is impacting your overall vibration, the flow in your life, that sort of thing. So, which questions do you have about triggers? And they can change throughout your life. Something that triggered you in the past, you can heal it and then it's gone, but then maybe something new comes forward, right? Maybe, so often they're mundane, they're just simple little things. Um, I got triggered on our when we were on our cruise last week when we went to Alaska because I was speaking to a senior member of the ship, an executive member, and sharing a training opportunity that had happened with their team members. And he wasn't listening to me. He started arguing with me about safety regulations, which wasn't what I was talking about. And I was shocked. I was so surprised. And you know, and Christian said to me, "Well, why are you triggered by this? Why is this so?" And so I really had to look at it because it was so weird. And the other thing with triggers, I forgot to mention this because it's really important. It's very often your negative response is disproportionate to what has happened. So you feel like this, and it was just this little thing. Like, okay, so the ice cream container was empty. Not the end of the world, right? But you have this big response. Okay. Um, and so when I looked at it, I worked a lot of my career before I did all my spiritual work. I worked in hospitality and resorts and hotels. And I remember dealing with, as an HR director, managers who were almost bullies, managers who didn't listen to their team. And so I don't work in hospitality anymore. I haven't in a long time. But that trigger came up for me when I was treated this way, when this executive did not want to listen to me and really kind of started arguing with me. And so again, they can come out of the blue. I mean, because I haven't worked in hotels in more than 10 years. So again, look at the triggers in your life, feel them when they come up, just observe them, see how long it lasts, and then you want to go in and do your work and do some clearing and healing. And you know that has worked when those things don't bother you anymore. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Okay, so because we're talking about triggers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a download of vibration of peace. All right, so I think that I will just do, oops, nope, don't want my calculator, want my timer. And I always put my timer on because I can go out into La La Land. And the vibration is peace is really quite lovely. And I'm going to do 7-minute download. And I will, in a moment, move into the quiet with it. You'll see me close my eyes. I might open them. And yeah, some people call it shadow work, right? Clearing your stuff is also called your shadow work. It's not what I call it. I just call it clearing, but there's lots of different names because you want all of that to be easier. All right. So if you can close your eyes, of course, you shouldn't be, if you're listening to me and driving the car, you're not going to be closing your eyes or listening right now because the download of energy most people will feel as it comes through. So, and then I have a couple of things to share with you after. So just one second here. All right. So just see, feel, or sense now as I call forth on the vibrations of peace. And any of you that have the 33 codes of origin, you've done that program with me, just activate your code of peace. But everyone else, just feel as that vibration of peace begins to flow. It's going to come down from source through your soul star chakra and down into your crown, which is the top of the head, and just allow it to slowly start to flow through your body. You don't have to direct it, your highest self will. And just allow that vibration of peace to flow through you, to fill you up. And every time you listen to this, you can receive a download of peace. So I'm just going to mute myself now as this is coming because we still have almost 6 minutes of download. Okay. And if you're just joining us now, we're doing a download. We're all receiving the vibrations of peace. Got about another 4 minutes, so just close your eyes and receive. And our download is now complete. Sorry about that. All right. So if you're still having trouble with triggers or you can't release some of them, or some of them can be really deep, things that are really deep within us, I still do private sessions. They're half an hour long and they're called clearing and clarity sessions. So they're available to book on my website, sparklesoflove.love. So if you're wanting some help with triggers, I'm more than happy to help you with that. Okay. And if you want some help with financial triggers, because I know that's a big one for a lot of us, coming up on July 18th for the weekend, so the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 18, 19, 20, a colleague of mine, Penelope Smith, is doing the Financial Freedom Workshop, and that is her specialty. And it's where I cleared some of my triggers around finances. She really helped me look at them differently. It's a great interactive weekend for the 3 days. It is not recorded, so you need to be there in person. And the links will be when we get the video, will go up shortly after the video is done. Okay. And that's with Penelope Jane Smith with her financial freedom. And I did it 2 years ago. It is a fabulous weekend. I highly, highly recommend it. And the last thing I want to let you know about is on next Thursday, the 10th of July, is we're doing the advanced opportunity full moon. And I'm really excited because this time it's been a long time, but the whales are coming through and it is called a message from the whales. I don't know what they're going to talk about. It will be recorded. And if you can't join us live on the Thursday at 3 o'clock Pacific time, then you will get the recording the same day. And that's also available on my website. Okay. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday. I will be here live. Don't know what the topic is yet. We'll just see what the universe wants me to send. And my final thing is, if you go under my videos, not my shorts, you'll also see a couple of weeks ago, I released a video about Mother Gaia leaving and the new consciousness coming forward. And it is just packed full of new information most people haven't heard. And I highly recommend that you listen to it. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm Ana-La-Rai. Bye for now.